Number of questions raised by members of the public. I will take them in order as on the list. Members of the public have 3 minutes to speak. Make sure you hold to that. Thank you very much. Mr. Stephen Hay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tackling intimidation is a cross-party issue. Abuse knows no political boundaries. Robust debate and scrutiny are essential aspects of public life. Abuse and intimidation shouldn't be. Is a quote from the introduction to the Joe Cox Foundation Civility Pledge, and Labour members are all signed up to this. Can the council leader confirm that his colleagues are also signed up to this, and if not, why not? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hay. Councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank Mr. Hay for his question. The aims of the Joe Cox Foundation are laudable and valuable to civic society. Anyone who wishes to sign up to their pledge is, of course, welcome to do so. So I don't think you need to sign a pledge to uphold these principles. They are something we should be doing anyway. Robust challenging debate is essential for a healthy democracy. You can hold someone to account for their words and deeds, but too often nowadays people seem to think it is acceptable to go for the personal. Mr. Mayor, I think it is safe to say that at no other time since I've been involved in politics has the situation been so bad. We have keyboard warriors hiding behind the veil of anonymity of social media, saying and threatening awful things that they would not have the courage or conviction to do if they were to see us face to face. This cowardly behaviour should have no place in politics at any level. Yet, here in Nuneaton and Bedford, both myself and others on this side of the chamber have received death threats. We have seen women, female councillors, receive threats of rape. We have experienced our places of work contacted in efforts to harass us in our everyday lives. Indeed, I saw a quote from the member opposite on social media saying that I, and I quote, am not even worthy of being called a human being. Will Mr. Hay distance himself and his party from that comment and remove the councillor responsible from his position? I don't think he will. And I don't think we have to go far for the root cause, Mr. Mayor. When we have the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party calling Tories scum, I would not call that civility in politics. When a party conference is held and Tories are welcomed by left-wing activists with a mannequin being lynched from a bridge, I would hardly call that civility in politics. Not one of these things has been done to Labour Party members at their conferences. Most of the abuse of politicians I have seen online and in person have been committed by left-wing activists. I agree with the principle of Mr. Hayes' question that there should be civility in politics, but I think he should get his own house in order before criticising others.
Thank you, Councillor. Question 2 comes from Mr. Brian Walmsley.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would the Conservative leader please confirm that he was horrified and disgusted by the diabolically offensive, ableist comments and draconian views of Conservative councillors about children with special educational needs and disabilities, plus their parents? Deputy Leader Golby and Deputy Mayor Hammersley have harmed their mental health and well-being due to their parental blame rhetoric and something in the water comments, all raised during Children's Mental Health Week. Will he take action and reprimand them for being disrespectful, failing to uphold the Nolan principles, breaching the Equality Act 2010, and for surely breaching the Conservative Party Code of Conduct?
Thank you, Mr. Walmsley. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Walmsley is, of course, referring to the events at a scrutiny committee at Warwickshire County Council and not this council. Of course, I acknowledge the depth of feeling on this highly emotive issue, and there are a number of families who have been upset by the edited video on TikTok. The councillors concerned have already issued an apology to those families that have been affected by what they saw in the video. I think it is also important to remember that there is an ongoing investigation at Warwickshire County Council following the complaints received. That is a quasi-judicial function and effectively means that the case is currently sub judice. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to intervene in an ongoing investigation, and I believe it is only right that the investigation is allowed to proceed and come to a conclusion.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask a supplementary question arising directly from that reply.
Carry on.
Thank you. If those Conservative councillors involved had a shred of decency, they would resign. However, a previous precedent was set back in 2018. Conservative councillor Tromans had the party whip removed pending the results of an investigation. Tromans was under investigation for alleged assault. He later had the whip returned after police suggested there was insufficient evidence to support a prosecution.
Mr. Walmsley.
As such,
Mr.
was
Walmsley.
Conservative leader of
Mr.
this council
Walmsley.
defending these
I don't
abhorrent
believe that's
actions?
appropriate at this moment in time. That's not a supplementary question.
If you give me a moment, Mr. Mayor. I have prepared this supplementary.
That will not be allowed as a supplementary, so there's no need to respond.
Well, I think, seeing as it's already now out there in public
It
domain,
was actually a statement rather than a question, wasn't it? Well, the first part was a question, the second part was a
Chairman
statement.
members are entitled to respond to
In
statements.
which case, carry on.
Can I finish the question then, please?
No.
If it's not allowed as supplementary, you cannot allow a response to something that's not a question.
Mr. Mayor, he has already put what he has said into public domain, whether or not you have ruled it out. I think that is grossly unfair.
If you let me finish the question, Constitution item 4.9.4. You didn't let me finish the question, there should be no further comment.
If you wish to make a point of personal explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to issue a point of personal explanation. I do take group discipline very seriously and the impact that it has on the public. And I would also expect Mr. Walmsley, as a member of the Labour Party, to also sharing that view, because he made some very reprehensible comments on social media, and I quote, saying in Stockingford during the COVID period of time, "You can do anything you want because you're special and because you would anyway." In Galley Common, he said, "Having sex with your sister is
Point
still
of
permitted,
personal
but you
explanation.
must be home before 10 PM and use supreme lubricant."
Chris.
I think those in glass houses, Mr. Mayor, should be very, very careful.
We'll move on to the next question. Question three, Mr. Mark Garrett. Present. Is Mr. Garrett present? No? Thank you. Question 4 is from Mrs. Michele Kondakor.
Thank you. Since the lily pad fountain was removed from Marketplace in the Neaton town centre, I've experienced an increase in cars being driven through the town centre at speed in the evenings. There is now nothing to act as a traffic calming measure, and more drivers are ignoring the one-way signs. I am fully aware that Warwickshire County Council are the Highways Authority, but Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council are partners in the town centre. Will the council monitor the situation with the CCTV, pass on all incidents of unsafe driving to the police, and look at adding street furniture or flower beds to calm speeds? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kondakor. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Mrs. Kondakor has already identified in her question, highways is the primary responsibility of Warwickshire County Council. Should we be requested to, we will provide assistance to the police in any investigation they have ongoing, as we have always done. I would remind Mrs. Kondakor that 24-hour CCTV provision was removed in the last Labour budget of February 2021, and it is only thanks to this Conservative administration that we've been able to find the funding to restore 24-hour coverage in our towns.
Thank you, councillor.
Can I have a supplementary, please?
Once again, if it's relevant to the answer given.
Yeah, you haven't actually answered the question. Will you report things to the police? Because as a member of the public, the car was going so fast that I couldn't even get the registration number. So I rely on the CCTV people. It's irrelevant what the Labour group did. I know we have 24-hour CCTV, so I want that to be used to make things safer. Will you do that, please?
Councillor Wilson.
Mr. Mayor, I do think it is relevant about what happened with the Labour Party administration cutting CCTV 24-hour coverage, because we wouldn't be able to provide assistance to the police if we had allowed that to continue in the scenario that Mrs. Kondakor outlines. Now, we can't have everyone looking specifically at the lily pad fountain all day, where it was, looking at it all day, every day. So if members of the public can come forward, if they have issues, and identify the times and dates, and I'm sure that with officers we can look at the video footage that is there, and where necessary, liaise with that member of the public and the police to raise any issues that might contravene the law. But I can't have someone sat there watching that video all day, every day, non-stop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's just ludicrous, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor.
First to the scrutiny committee as suggested the constitution.
Do you have a seconder for that motion? In which case we need to take it to a vote. Is that correct? No. All those in favour of taking the recommendation to...
So the issue.
Sorry?
The issue.
Oh, sorry. Okay. The issue to scrutiny committee. Those in favour? Okay. Those against? Unfortunately, that is not carried. Thank you. Item number 5. Sorry, question number 5 is Mr. Alan Baxter. Mr. Baxter present? Yes, thank you.
Okay, I have a delightfully mundane question for you today. The question relates to the blocks of garages at the end of the Populars driveway in Stocking Ford. The brick-built block, which is numbers 9 to 15, is falling progressively into dilapidation. Part of the roof blew off in a winter storm, and the roof on number 15 is caved in. Number 15 is also home to a family of rats. The brickwork is spalling all over and damp is rising. Now, noting that a block of similar garages was demolished due to dilapidation this month, I believe, I would like to ask the council to consider the same for this block. You could transform it into allocated parking spaces, a bit like you did with the toilet block behind the council house. This would alleviate the parking problems OAP residents in the Populars currently have. There's not enough spaces for the OAP residents in the flats and bungalows for them to park their cars down there. It should also alleviate some of the antisocial behaviour that takes place in that end of the Populars, as the whole area would become more open plan and illuminated by the lamps that currently exist adjacent to the OAP flats. Ambulance and fire engine access in emergencies would also be eased down there. You may be able to move the 2 or 3 tenants from block 9 to 15 into the other block, which is 1 to 8, as some of those are currently empty. And this block recently had a brand new roof installed. There should be a long-term saving to the council in maintenance costs, as the flat sheets of tarmac are easier and cheaper to repair than brick buildings. Hopefully you can turn this into a win-win for the council and local residents down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. In the absent Goldby, Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm answering on behalf of the council, so I don't know all the details behind the specifics. But there is an ongoing capital asset review ongoing across the whole of the HRA estate, that being houses, garages, and indeed some shops which fall into the HRA account too. and that then forms into part of the wider 30-year business plan that we have to have by law with the housing revenue account. So we need to complete the results of that asset review before we can decide what we do with long-term pieces of infrastructure and real estate across the HRA account. So what I'm saying is, it's not a no, it's not a never, and it may be that what you are suggesting is the right course of action, but to make sure that it all stacks up according to what we're required to do by law and everything else fits together in the jigsaw. It's not as easy as just saying we do this and move it over here. There may be some other things as part of the housing revenue account we have to consider as part of it, but that work is underway because it is out of date and needs to be done ASAP, and it does that piece of work is impacting not just on garage sites, but it is impacting on a number of other key decisions that we have to make with the HRA for the medium and long term.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much. Item number 7. At this point, if any member of the public wishes to leave, because at the end of obviously public participation, thank you, so otherwise by all means you may start. Item number 7 is questions to members' questions. I'd like to ask Councillor Evans, please. Thank you.
Can the Cabinet Member for Finance outline to Council how the Council Tax Support Scheme will benefit the Borough in the next financial year?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to disappoint Councillor Evans too much when I say that, as you will notice, the local council tax support scheme was not actually in the paper tonight. We would normally bring it to Budget Council, but unfortunately there have been a large number of legislative changes this year, which we need to work through. And as I keep saying, we will take the time we need to get things right. So we'll be bringing it to the March Cabinet, and if it needs to go to Council, it will go to the April Council. But I can confirm that we will be bringing such a scheme to Cabinet. It will be the usual scheme where people can apply for up to 85% relief on their council tax. And I've had some figures today which confirm that we anticipate that will affect 8,242 people at a cost of £10.1 million.
Thank you, Councillor Croft. Councillor, question to Councillor Emma Shires. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. The comments made by Councillor Golding and Councillor Hampstead has had an impact on the needs of veterans, SEND children and families. I would therefore like to ask Councillor Wilson for his and his group's opinion with regards to the SEND crisis that is currently impacting on our residents.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe I've already answered this question in my response to Mr. Walmsley.
Thank you, Councillor. For question 3, Councillor Kondakor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another boring one on rubbish. The Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, produces English fly tipping statistics using its flycatcher database. Councils upload data on the numbers of fly tipping cases and details of actions such as slip penalty notices, FEBs, onto the database. This database is strictly for fly tipping cases, and briefings clearly tell councils not to include FPNs for littering in the database. Last year, a tiny number of councils, including in Eden and Bedworth, ignored instructions and filed grossly excessive numbers of including FPNs related to littering. This mistake resulted in DEFRA tables showing our borough for 2022-23 to have the highest number of fly-tipping-related FPNs in the region, with 1,712 FPNs issued for 1,870 incidents. This is clearly rubbish. In the calendar year 2023, which we just finished, how many FPNs for fly tipping explicitly has the council issued? And when is the council going to fully investigate and clear the mess of fly tipping along Jubilee Way? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kondakor. Councillor Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as per my previous answer to you on this subject, I've asked that each fixed penalty notice that's been issued for the relevant reported queries to be individually reviewed to confirm whether it's met the necessary criteria as set out in the guidelines issued by DEFRA. Unfortunately, this review hasn't been completed yet. When it is, the updated figures will be provided to DEFRA as necessary. There's been 46 notices issued specifically for blighted in 23. But having said that, as a borough, we have made a conscious decision to deal with smaller blighted rubbish with littering expansion notices and not Section 33 EPA, as it's dealt with in a more timely manner. It doesn't mean it's not blighted. We're working hard to improve the environment throughout the borough, and our enforcement team are doing an exceptional job. And with regards to Jubilee Way, whilst I believe the query relates to littering and not blighted, I can confirm the council is working with partners to ensure the litter is cleared as a priority.
Thank you, Councillor Markham.
Quick supplementary.
Councillor, yes, Councillor Kondakor.
Thank you, Mr. Sorry, Councillor Markham. Can you just clarify, the 48 that were issued, were they issued as £400 fines, or were some of them issued as the £100 FPNs? Because you sort of drifted between the different, we issued different types. So can you just clarify, are all 48 for £100 fines?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Markham.
Yeah, thank you. I did actually say 46, and they were issued specifically for blighted.
Thank you, Councillor Markham. Question 4. Councillor